Hey guys, welcome to my Cyberpunk 2077 build video. I just wanted to explain what my character is going to be building towards in my playthrough. That's going to be on the channel as well. It's pretty cool. It's focused on fully automatic weapons, so like submachine guns and assault rifles. It uses cover to amp up the damage, as you'll see in the tree explanation. And it also uses the Sandevistan cyberware to slow time and allow you to really hit those headshots very easily and to get your cold blood stacks up really fast. So let's dive into the explanation here. So this build is an 8-20-20-23 build. 8 body, 20 reflexes, 20 technical ability, 20 cool, and 3 intelligence. We're not a very smart man. We don't use any quick hacking or breach protocol because the Sandevistan cyberware does not allow us to utilize either of them, so it's pointless. In the body tree, you're filling the rest of your stats in the body because of that fact. That's why we have 3 intelligence. I don't take any perks in the body section at all. You could argue that some of them are good, like invincible to give you health, but since I feel quite confident that I'm not going to be taking much damage with my cover-to-cover playstyle, I don't actually opt into any of these perks here. Into the Reflexes tree in the Assault tab, we don't take 2 perks. One of them is Eagle Eye, which reduces the time to aim down sights with rifles. This is not useful to me because my playstyle is very kind of calculated. I don't need to aim faster. I'm already aiming almost all the time when I enter combat. And 2 Closest for Comfort makes quick melee attacks better, which I never use because if an enemy gets close to me, I'll run away from them. I won't try to melee them. The first perk we take is called Bullet Jock, gives you 3% damage per perk. That comes out to 10% total for 3 perks. Duck Hunter gives us 20% increased damage to moving enemies, which a lot of enemies will be moving because we are coming at them from surprise. Shoot, Reload, Repeat. Defeating an enemy with a rifle or submachine gun reduces reload time by 40% for 5 seconds. This lets us keep killing enemies and reloading our gun really fast to kill more enemies. It's very good. Feel the Flow reduces reload time by 20%. Bread and butter talent. Bullseye gives us 10% damage while aiming. Very good. Trench Warfare increases our damage by 10% when firing from behind cover, which is what we always want to be doing with this build. In Perspective lets our bullets ricochet 2 more times. Very fun perk. Recoil Wrangler reduces our recoil by 10%. Bread and butter. Long Shot increases our damage the further we are from enemies. This is very useful in some situations. Hunter's Hands reduces recoil with rifles by 40% when you're standing behind cover. You can begin to see a theme here. We want to be behind cover to get advantage of all these perks. Executioner allows us to deal 25% more damage to enemies whose health is above 50%, tying into the theme of doing a decisive initial attack. Covering Kill Shot increases our crit chance by 20% when we're firing from behind cover. Nerves of Steel increases our headshot damage with sniper rifles and precision rifles by 30%. We typically only use a sniper rifle for the initial shot in an encounter. Bunker increases our armor and resistances by 15% when shooting from behind cover. Skull Skipper. Each headshot reduces recoil with rifles and submachine guns by 5% for 10 seconds. Stacks up to 5 times. So with a full stack, we have 25% reduced recoil after 5 headshots. Savage Stoic increases our damage with rifles by 35% when standing still. This is an extremely powerful talent because if we're sitting in cover, we are standing still, so we have a flat 35% damage increase for 1 perk. And finally, we have Punisher. After defeating an enemy with a rifle or submachine gun, weapon sway is nullified and weapon spread does not increase for 10 seconds. This effectively makes our gun into a laser beam after our first kill, and like you'll see later on with the other perks, we are heavily focused on having a very, very strong initial attack on the enemy, so we get this right away. So moving on to the technical ability tree, we're going to the crafting tab, and we are not only going to look at one talent here in particular, it's the Sapper talent. It increases our grenade damage by 20%. The other talents are all just related to deconstructing and crafting items. They're quite boring. Increased efficiency and unlocking the legendary crafting plans. I will mention that the perk called Efficiency could be fun for utilizing a drug build where you're using all the different drugs in the game all at all times, and it makes them more powerful. Could be funny. I almost forgot the best talent in this tree. It's the Waste Not, Want Not. This means you can put your mods onto an item and get them back when you deconstruct it. This is good for when you upgrade your weapon and you want to get all your good mods off of it. On to the Engineering tab, we have all of the grenade-related perks. So Bigger Booms, it makes our Grenade damage increased by 25% for 5 perks. Very inefficient, but fun because it's for grenades. Next we have the Jackpot perk. It lets our grenades crit, which with this build is really good because we have very high crit in the initial stages of the battle. We have Can't Touch This, which lets us not one-shot ourselves with our own grenades. It's useful when our grenades are so powerful. Next is the Troll perk Shrapnel, making all of our grenades deal 20 damage in addition to the normal effects. This isn't a lot, and I don't know how good it is. I just wanted to take all of the grenade-related perks, so we'll see in the gameplay. And finally, in the Engineering tab, we have Play the Angles, which increases our ricochet damage by 50%. I think it's fun to play with ricochets. It feels really cool, shooting guys around corners and off of surfaces, so I take this talent, or perk, whatever. Now we're moving on to the Cool tree, which has some of the most powerful perks in terms of points spent for value. First one is From the Shadows. Upon entering combat, crit chance increases by 50% for 7 seconds. For only 2 perks, this is one of the best combat perks you can get. Makes your initial attack very, very strong, often putting you above 100% critical chance for that 7 seconds. It also synergizes significantly with the Cold Blood tree, which we'll see in a moment. Hasty Retreat is a perk that, again, once you're detected, for 5 seconds you have increased movement speed by 50%, allowing us to run to cover or get where we need to go very quickly. Next we have Cheat Death. When our health drops below 50%, we gain 50% damage reduction from all sources for 10 seconds. This allows us to, in a really hairy situation, survive, get to cover using Hasty Retreat. It also only costs 1 perk point, so it's crazy value. Then we have Assassin, which lets us deal 15% more damage to human enemies. Most enemies in Cyberpunk are human. We don't take any perks related to movement speed because it requires you to crouch, which we don't do, we mostly sprint. And we actually have the Sniper perk here, which I take in the video because I've got to take it. It lets us do headshots that are made from outside combat, so initial shots become 60% stronger, which is very good for opening with a sniper rifle shot. Now on to the Cold Blood tree, which is the most broken tree in the game. All of the perks in the Cold Blood tree revolve around gaining Cold Blood, which you gain from defeating enemies. When you defeat an enemy, you gain 1 Cold Blood stack. This stacks up to 3 times, and it gets extended to 5 times with other perks in this tree. So all of the buffs you get are stacking, and you'll see just how significant they are in a moment. By default, Cold Blood gives you movement speed increased by 2% per stack, so 6% at max stacks. Cold and Calculating means landing a critical hit has 25% chance of adding a Cold Blood stack. With our build, we have 100% crit for the first 7 seconds due to the stealth talent. Means we'll get max Cold Blood very, very rapidly. Coldest Blood increases the maximum amount of Cold Blood stacks we can get by 1, so we go up to 4 with this talent. Self-explanatory, gives us better buffs. Unbreakable does the same thing and gives us another stack of Cold Blood, letting us go to 5. In conjunction with Cold and Calculating, we can get 5 stacks essentially immediately as the battle starts because we have 100% crit. Coagulate makes it so that the Cold Blood is removed 1 by 1 instead of all at once. Typically, without this talent, if you had 5 stacks of Cold Blood and 10 seconds elapsed, then you lose all 5 and have to rebuild it from 0. With this talent, we can maintain our Cold Blood for a really long time, even if we have a lapse in the fighting or we have to run through a different area with no ability to shoot enemies in the meantime. Pain is an Illusion gives us 5% flat mitigation when Cold Blood is active. This is a very good value point. After that we have Immunity, which gives us immunity to bleeding, poison, burn, and shock. This talent is incredibly good for 1 point because there are other perks and other trees that give you immunity to only one of these, and this gives you immunity to everything with the condition that you have Cold Blood active, so incredible talent or perk. One of the good talents I don't take in this build is called Defensive Clotting. This increases your armor by 20% if you put 2 perks into it per stack, so for this build it would be 100% bonus armor. That's very good if you're trying to tank damage, like with a melee build or with a kind of shotgun kind of blitz build, but this build doesn't try to take damage, so it's not that good and I don't take it. Critical Condition increases the duration of Cold Blood by 10 seconds, meaning the total duration is now 20 seconds. This makes it so that we pretty much always have at least 1 stack of Cold Blood because they fall off slowly because of the previous perk, and they last very long, so it just keeps the uptime of Cold Blood really high. Frozen Precision is a flat 50% increase to headshot damage. It's a no-brainer for our build. The other perks I haven't taken are very good for other builds, but are not good for this build. And the final perk that is the reason you take Cold Blood perks at all is called Merciless, and we'll see that here in a second. So while Cold Blood is active, increase critical hit chance by 10% and critical hit damage by 25%. This is probably the best talent for raw DPS increase, except for maybe Savage Stoic, but it's extremely strong. Should always take it for any damage build. Moving on to the Cyber selection, we have Heal on Kill, which heals us for 10% of our maximum health after defeating an enemy. This heals any chip damage we've taken. And the Mechatronic Core, increasing damage to drones, mechs, and robots by 50%. These are kind of the only frontal cortex implants we can use because of our low intelligence stat. For the ocular system, we have Kuroshi Optics MK3 with 3 mods. We got Trajectory Analysis for the headshot bonus. We got Trajectory Generator to see the trajectory of our ricochet shots, and a small crit bonus for weak spot detection. Targeted Analysis makes our weapons non-lethal, which is not interesting to me. And the other mod there highlights enemies that detect us, and I consider that a crutch. I like to play of my own volition, not be helped by the game. You'll see when in my gameplay I don't even play with the minimap activated. Circulatory system. A lot of the implants are gated behind a high body stat, so we only really have bioplastic blood vessels to heal small amounts of health outside of combat to recover from taking slight damage during battle. For the immune system, we have the Metabolic Editor, which lets us heal with poison grenades. It's pretty funny. We don't need to use medicine, we can heal with grenades. Cataresist increases all resistances by 35%. This helps us resist damage from all sources. Very useful. Krenzikov in the nervous system is very strong. It requires a high reflex stats, which we have, and it slows time when we dodge or slide with our weapon aimed. And in conjunction with nano relays there, the uptime of Krenzikov is actually above 100%. So it's a 5.5 second duration, so that the cooldown is only 5 seconds, so we can always use it if we need to. For the integumentary system, there are no mods that are useful that we can use with our current stat distribution. You need a high body or a high intelligence. For our Sandevesten, we use the Militech Falcon variant. This one gives us an increase of 15% damage and a very strong critical damage and chance bonus. So often when I engage in a fight, I'll activate my Sandevesten, and in conjunction with the From the Shadows perk that we saw in the stealth tree, that's already a flat increase of something like 75% crit. In conjunction with the base stats on the gun and on your mods and your armor, you can get above 100% critical chance for the first 7 seconds, which allows you to fully stack your Cold Blood with the perks we chose in the Cold Blood tree, and it's a very powerful synergy, so you become the first opening shots of a fight, you become very strong very rapidly. For the Sandevesten mods, I've used the heat sinks, which reduce the cooldown. That allows me to use the Sandevesten more often. And you can see there, once I go back to the previous page, you can see the actual stats of the Militech Falcon. Increasing our crit chance by 5% more doesn't really matter because, as I said, we're going above 100% crit with our current build. We don't need more static crit. So yeah, you see there, damage by 15%, 20% critical chance, and 35% critical damage while active is extremely powerful initial attack. Now, there's other variations of the Sandevesten that may have better uptime, so like a shorter cooldown or a longer duration, but they won't slow time by that amount, the same amount, and they also won't give such a drastic damage increase. For the skeleton mods, we're limited by our body stat again. We have Bionic Joints, which reduces ranged weapon recoil by 12%. There's probably a legendary version I haven't found yet that gives a higher bonus. And we have Titanium Skeleton, which increases our carrying capacity for convenience. In the hand slot, we have the Ballistic Coprocessor. This increases the amount of ricochet chance we have with our weapons, and it also allows us to see the line that the ricochet will follow. So it allows us to set up cool shots where we shoot around corners underneath cover, and all sorts of cool stuff like that. So that's why I use it. There's the other option here would be a Smart Link. The Smart Link can be strong for damage, but I don't like playing with smart weapons. I like to aim my guns specifically as I am playing the game. I don't like to be carried by auto aim things. For the arm slot, I've chosen to use a projectile launch system as a placeholder for my mods. I don't use the weapon in typical gameplay, I use grenades instead. So we have the metal plating, which gives 10% resistances, and we have the sensory amplifier, which increases critical damage by 30%. For our build, that's really strong. For the legs, we have fortified ankles, the epic version, which allows us to hover in midair. It's really cool, lets you jump up and hover. You'll see me doing a little jump and then an aim, and I can fly in the air, getting angles that would be inaccessible without this mod. Even with a double jump, you couldn't do that. So yeah, that's the whole build. Hopefully you enjoy the playthrough.